Stasa23 here. In today's knife therapy, I have the Artisan Cutlery Ahab. This knife comes in at $70, and this is a collaboration with Mr. Nick Rogers. There's his maker's mark right there. And it comes in this particular variation, and you could also get it with wood scales, and both of them come with a satin finish on the blade. Let's get some quick specs out of the way. You have a total length of 7.9 inches. You have a blade length of 3.39 inches. You have a grip area from this part of the scale to the back right here of 3.6 inches, or you can choke up a little bit and you'll be at 3.7 inches. You have a pretty slim handle scale thickness at 0.44 inches and a closed width in the pocket, a little bit wide at 1.46 inches. The blade stock thickness is pretty thin at 0.104 inches, and the behind the edge thickness on my particular knife is around 20 thousandths, sharpened at 20 degrees per side. Now let's take a closer look at this. You have a pretty interesting looking harpoon blade shape here. Nice top swedge that brings that tip down to a very fine point for piercing or detailed work, whatever you want to use it for. You have a full flat ground blade here, like I said, with the satin finish. It is a fingerprint magnet. This blade steel on this knife is in their proprietary AR RPM 9 powdered metallurgy steel that they usually use for their budget-in knives, but this is, you know, like a budget-in artisan, if you want to say that. You do have a sharpening choil. Closer, it is starting to widen in the back right there, creating a smile. It's a little unfortunate. I wish I could have brought that up some. But the thin blade stock and the full flat ground blade should allow this to slice like a champ. So why don't we do a little cutting with it and see how well the Ahab performs. One thing that was evident right away is that the factory edge was redonkulously sharp, allowing this knife to pass effortlessly through the cardboard. I was kind of shocked at first on how quickly I was able to get through the cardboard, and it has really good edge geometry for it as well. Thinner blade stock and full flat grind, so those are usually great combinations for a good slicer. I did notice that the area behind the lock bar, it's a thin area, has a 90-degree area spot there, and it was kind of uncomfortable, but not too bad to where I had to stop what I was doing. The ergos were a lot better than I expected them to be, especially with the light to medium cutting. The knife was also wanting to bite very quickly and deeply into the pine 2x4. I did notice once that I began to apply a lot more pressure into the wood. The thinner handle wanted to shift in the hand a little bit, required me to grip the knife a lot tighter. Therefore, it's going to start to fatigue the forearms, cramp up a little bit. But this is not what I'd be doing with this knife anyway. This is a good everyday carry type of knife doing a light duty task. The knife has a very nice precise point for doing these drag cuts on, say, a cutting board, and it was very comfortable doing it in this pinch grip like this. I didn't really find any of the cutting to be uncomfortable, and I think that had a lot to do with how sharp the knife was, and not just sharp, it had bite to it. Not something you see that often in production, in factory edges, at least I don't. Found the knife had the perfect amount of belly to do this cutting onto a flat surface like this comfortably. The rocking motion cuts were easy, and it was passing through this material, look at it, so quickly. Nothing really gave it that much trouble, and it seemed to hold the edge all the way to the end of this testing for sure. It's very evident once I get to the denim. If it doesn't have bite, it's just not going to go through it cleanly, and as you can see, it is going through it cleanly here. When I got to the sisal rope cutting, this is where I was really mind blown. This thing is push cutting pretty much the entire way, and it was doing it with little to no effort. It's pretty thin up there in that tip portion of the blade, and the pinch grip, I had a lot of control over my cut. And I could have probably done a lot more cutting than I did, but I did run out of sisal rope during the cutting. I think I would learn my lesson by now, but it still performed great. It ended up making 40 cuts through the twisted sisal rope, and it was still sharp after I was done. The whole entire edge still had a good working edge to it, and yeah, I was very, very impressed. Alrighty, I hope y'all enjoyed that cutting footage. I really enjoyed making it because this knife was a pleasure to use. Let's close it up and take a look at the action. The knife has a very, very smooth, snappy action, as you can see. It is a thumb stud deployer, pretty massive thumb studs. They have a good bit of texture there. You can reverse flick it if you'd like. The knife is riding on ceramic bearings, which allow it to come out of the handle pretty darn fast, if I should say so myself. Very easy to get a hold of those thumb studs. They're pretty comfortable, and you can easily actuate the knife left-handed also. Yep, I can even reverse flick it. If you look at the scales, you can tell that there is no pivot screw here. It's just hidden. It's underneath the G10 scales. If you want to see more of that, my buddy Knife Sergeant took apart his, and if you want to see the internal workings, mine's running nice and smooth, so I decided not to take it apart. But once you release the pressure off that lock bar, this thing is coming down very, very smooth on the opening and closing of the knife. Let's take a look at the handle. You have some very well done G10 scales that are contoured, nice smooth finish, but they're not slippery. At least I didn't think so. You have two T6 Torx for the scale screws, and you have a milled titanium pocket clip and a titanium backspacer with a hidden lanyard post here. The pocket clip has been blind screwed, just meaning it's screwed on the inside so you don't have an extra hole there. And I'll tell you what, this pocket clip is done very, very nicely, nice and contoured, soften the edges, and it goes in and out of the pocket nicely. Let's check it out inside the pocket. It is a wide knife, so it is going to take up a good bit of the pocket, but I noticed it goes in and out of the pocket very easily, and that's what you have sticking out of the pocket. One thing that I did notice, though, that you're going to have to be careful with if you get the knife, something I'll talk about in nitpicks and complaints as well. A few times whenever I pull the knife out of my pocket, these larger thumb studs with that texture on there grabbed the hold of my pocket. Let's see if I can make it do it without it being in my pocket. It grabbed the hold of my pocket right here and waved the knife out like that. Definitely was unexpected, and something you definitely want to be mindful of. I'm not too sure why they put such high thumb studs, or just, why not use some like on this this Scoria, CJRB Scoria. I think they would work perfect for this knife. All right, let's check out the inside. You have inset stainless steel liners that have been super skeletonized, top and bottom, which is relieving the weight a good bit. Let's check out the weight real quick. First off, in grams, 94.5 gram, well, 94.4 grams, and 3.32 ounces. I think that's outstanding. Now let's check out that lockup. The lock is sitting at around, I'd say 50%. Nice and solid. No play up and down. I can flex some side to side. It's just because of the thinness of the scales. Nothing to where I'm worried about it. Access to the lock bar is good. However, they polished the liner right there, and you have that chamfer. It can be, it's not difficult, but I wish they wouldn't have polished it. It would have just been a little bit easier. That said, it's not hard by any means. Just something, I'm not really a fan of the polished liner. I don't think it looks good. And one other thing that I noticed is something I talked about during the cutting is this portion behind the lock bar, and I see this all the time. You can even see the burrs on it. Only time I noticed it to be an issue is when I was cutting the cardboard, I guess because I was like doing I was dragging through there and my finger might have been rubbing against it. It was a little uncomfortable. I didn't really notice it so much when I was doing the wood carving, which I thought I would. So, it may not be an issue for you. And if it is, you could easily take a piece of sandpaper and just kind of knock that little edge down. All right, some quick size comparisons. We have the CJRB Scoria and the CJRB Krog. Both of these are pretty good size comparisons as far as length goes. Somebody said they want to see blade to blade. It's got more cutting edge than the Scoria and more cutting edge than the Krog. Next up, we have the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Rat Model 2. It's right in between those two. Lastly, we have the Civivi Riffle and the Civivi Brazen Drop Point. Both of these are very close in overall length. All right, so nitpicks and complaints. First of all, I would have loved to see this as a stonewash blade, but I get it. It's more of a classier style knife, so they went with the fingerprint magnet of satin finish. At least it's an even satin finish. Secondly, probably my biggest complaint is these oversized grippy thumb studs just can be dangerous because can wave it out the pocket depending on, how you grab it out of the pocket. It only happened to me twice, but twice is more than enough when you're not expecting it. And also, I would have loved for them not to polish this liner just to make it a little bit easier to get my thumb there. And like I said, it's definitely not a deal breaker for me. I think the knife is very, very good. So my overall thoughts on the Ahab, definitely one that I recommend. I think it performed outstanding. It was comfortable. It's lightweight. It looks nice. It has some, nice features like the very nice pocket clip, titanium pocket clip, and the titanium backspacer, inset liners. Good action, comfortable ergos. There's a lot to love here, and I think you will be happy with it as long as, the nitpicks I talked about aren't deal breakers for you. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.